Hello, equity agents. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about lead-based paint and some of the best business practices when working with your buyers. So when you sit down with your buyers for an initial consultation to kind of go over a bird's eye view of the home buying process, oftentimes you bring a little goodie packet for them, a folder, equity folder that contains a buyer agency agreement, maybe the home buying process chart, an intake questionnaire so that you can ask them, the different things that they're looking for in a home. One of the items that I recommend that you go ahead and insert into your packet is the Protect Your Family from Lead-Based Paint. And this is the lead-based paint brochure. So homes that are built prior to 1978 have the potential for lead-based paint. And to go ahead and give your buyers a copy of this pamphlet so that they're familiar with lead-based paint and what it pertains to, then when they're looking at homes built prior to 1978, and if they decide to submit an offer on one, they now have the information at their fingertips. So this pamphlet that I just showed you, where do you get a copy of this? Let me show you. We actually have it here on Elevate. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you when you log into Elevate, you're going to go under Forms, and then you're also going to go under General Forms, and then you're going to scroll down and you're going to see EPA lead-based paint. If you click on this, you can download an electronic copy, which you can print and put in your packets, or you can email directly to your clients. So let's switch gears and hop into the actual contract to buy and sell. And let's talk a little bit about the modifications that we saw in January 2019 when the new contract came out. So if you scroll down to section 3.1, your dates and deadline chart, under the seller disclosure section, we now have a milestone for lead-based paint disclosure deadline. Previously, when you submitted an offer, if the home was built prior to 1978, you would execute a lead-based paint disclosure at the time the contract was accepted. And there were many issues that arose with having to have this disclosure form signed at the time the contract was accepted. So the Division of Real Estate now revised the contract to reflect a lead-based paint disclosure deadline. Think of this as like a seller's property disclosure, source of water addendum, square footage disclosure. This disclosure can now occur after the contract has been accepted. So you're going to put a date in here. Best practice is probably 3 days after contract acceptance, so it kind of coincides with the seller's property disclosure, but you can make that deadline 24 hours, 48 hours, 5 days, whatever you want it to be, but 3 is what we recommend. That's the date in which the listing agent, the buyer's agent, and the seller need to sign the disclosure and present it to the buyer, and then the buyer needs to review and execute that disclosure as well. So the second deadline that was added into the contract is under the inspection and due diligence section. And that's the lead-based paint termination deadline. Federal regulations allow the buyer to test for lead-based paint. And from 10 days from the receipt of the lead-based paint disclosure is the allotted time frame for them to test for that lead-based paint. And if they decide that they no longer wish to proceed with the property due to the health or safety hazards of a home that has high tests for high lead-based paint, they can terminate the contract. So in here we have lead-based paint termination. That's the time frame in which the buyer can test and then terminate the contract if they don't like the findings. You want to make that at least 10 days after contract acceptance. Really, you want to tie it into 10 days after the disclosure is received. So hopefully that answers any questions that you guys may have had about the new contract changes with lead-based paint and best practices for when to send your clients a copy of this brochure. Again, this only applies to homes built prior to 1978. If it's a home built after 1978, you don't have to worry about the disclosure nor the pamphlet. If you have any questions after watching this video, I'm always here and happy to help.